Mexican meatball soup. So I have my veggies already peeled, ready to go. So we're just gonna do a quick chop. Depending on how you want your veggies, you can chop them up small. I just use big pieces and I cook them separately from the soup. So we got some carrots. I'm going to add chayotes. And I do not peel these. I just leave them with the skin on. Just 3 cuts. Make sure to wash them beforehand. And since the zucchini cooks faster, and I don't want it to get mushy, I am going to add that at the end. Once I turn off those veggies, I just let it steam up a little. I've already got a pot of water. I'm just going to pour these into that pot with a little bit of salt. So now for the sauce. So I'm going to list the ingredients if you're going to make 1.5 to 2 pounds of meat. I am going to be making 10 pounds today, because that's going to be enough for 5 or 6 people in my house. To make the sauce, if you do not want to have chunks of tomato and onion, you can blend it and start the sauce with that. Or if you have a food processor, pulse, leave a rough chop, and it will be a lot quicker. Okay. These are about 2 large onions. I'm going to use a white onion and a yellow onion today. I need a bigger knife. And again, since this is going to be a broth, you don't need to be even, just a rough chop even. I hadn't chopped the tomato right. It's not like it's something I would do, so I'm just putting a little bit of oil on there. The pan is already a little hot. I had just turned it off, but because it was getting too much. Okay. First thing I add is the onion. I'll just give that a stir. Now, in order to help break down the onion, to pull out the liquid, put some salt in there. And I have this at high heat. Since I am mixed it, if I walk away doing something else, I will usually lower it down to a medium heat while I do that. Putting it on medium. You need to get the garlic ready. Smell the onions. I love it. Okay, so this is just the basic recipe. You can do different things with it. Once you put the tomatoes, you can add chipotle peppers in there. If you want to do green chilies like serranos or jalapenos, you could always add it with your onions or with the garlic. If you don't like pieces of garlic, you can always blend it or mince it, and that way it breaks down with the, when it starts cooking. Now I am back to putting my heat on high. My veggies seem to be boiling over here. I'll let them cook for about 5 minutes. Turn it off. At this point, the onion is beginning to become translucent a bit. They're sweated. I do not want to sweeten them too much, so I'm not going to cook them down that much. I think that should be about good right there. throw the garlic in. Give it a quick stir. Just want to get that flavor to start coming out here for that garlic. Again, this is what I'm making for 10 pounds of meat. So I've got this going. We're going to add the tomato in here. There. Because I'm waiting for the juices to come out on the tomato, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on high, and we're going to go back and get our cilantro ready. That's our mix. Okay. I just grab it, twist, and I might save the stems to blend it and make a cilantro rice. You need on my bigger pieces. That's all you need, a rub shop. Tomato is breaking down. It's been about 3 minutes. So you can continue cooking this down until the tomato breaks down a little bit more. I like the pieces in there, so I don't mind it not breaking down completely as we cook this down. Okay. Just drop the cilantro in here. And now we just add water. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the vegetables. Add the zucchinis and leave it covered until we're ready to add them into our bowl. See that? People don't tell you that they've used it all up, and then when you need it, and that is why I always buy 2. So next time I go to the grocery store, I'll pick up another one because I know this is going to happen again. Okay, so to start this off, I think I might need more, but I'll just start cooking it with this and I'll taste it as it goes. Again, this is just the basic. At this point, if you would like, you can add oregano, you can add chipotles at this point with the adobo to give it a smokier, spicier taste. Or you can use the vinegar in the canned jalapeno peppers. I pour a little bit in here to give a little bit of taste without so much heat. Then we'll just cover, let it come to a boil while we make the meatballs. Now, I'm not really gonna clean this up, like wash it yet. So I'm still gonna chop up the mint. No biggie. So this, you could use 1 bunch if you're making like 1.5 to 2 pounds of meat, or you can use less depending on how much mint you want in there. For this amount, I could probably use 4 because of the amount that my nephews and nieces like in it, and I like a lot of mint in it as well. But I'm gonna keep it at 3. Just go ahead and wash them. Now, if you find mint and the stem is tender, so like this part would probably cook down. Or if you have mint at your house and you can just cut a bunch of it from the top and get the tender parts, you can just chop it up, no problem. These stems are too hard, so that won't work. So we're just gonna have to take off all the leaves and mince them up. And I will pause now because someone's coming down. I think they're smelling the Albondigas. Last time I was making them, niece came down, I was like, are you making Albondigas? So, I'm waking them up with food. Okay, we've got our mint. So I finished it off camera, but the faster way of doing it, when you get the stem, you can just do this all the way down and they tend to come off. Like there's not enough for me to hold it. When you do that though, there may be a bigger piece on there. I don't mind it. But usually I'll just nip it and that way we have as little stem as possible. Again, if you're just home cooking, that's fine. There's no issue unless you don't like the texture. But if you want to elevate it and go more gourmet where you have like finer knife cuts and all that, go for it. I ain't got time for that though. Now, the tomatillos, I've already washed them. So what you're gonna do, just take off the skin. That's it. The way my mom did this, she would slice them up and then chop them. So like a fine chop. I don't have time for that sometimes. So let me see if I can get this. Just gonna throw them in here. Oh, I always do this. I don't know why. Okay. And that's it. You can also do this with the herbs, like if you don't want to be chopping them up. I usually just like chopping up the mint though, because I like getting that smell when I'm cutting it. Alright. I'll take care of this later. I might even use it again. One never knows. Okay, so we've got our tomatillos. I usually use 6 eggs or 7. These are kind of small. So I'm going to use 8. If you hit them on the counter, it's less likely that it'll break and you'll get a shell in there. Still possible. One small piece made it. Since I don't need to put air into these eggs, I'm just going to use this whisk. The fatter, rounder ones are when you want to add air into it. This, I'm just going to break up the yolks. Oh, little hello there. Why did I make that voice? I have no idea. I can get goofy at times. Very inappropriate most of the times. We'll see what happens. Okay. So we're good with this. I'll give this a rinse so it doesn't get stuck and make it more difficult to clean later. Okay. So we've got our mince. We've got egg, tomatillos, and rice. So rice I don't usually measure. I just go by how, like when I'm adding it, I don't measure that. By how we've seen our moms and grandmas do it. So I'm getting a small bowl. Like when I make tamales, just for my family, like it's 7 of us, I think. This is great to make tamales, the masa. So it's 7 of us, so I make like 100 and something tamales. So I'm just gonna break it up. So this meat, the way it's ground is not the way I usually get it, so the meatball may be denser. If you can get a butcher to grind this for you, or if you go to a store where it's not this mushy, that would be awesome. I think that the guy misunderstood him because I was getting the 90% fat free, and he said, "Oh, we're out of the 85%. Let me go get that for you." I was like, "No, this is the one I want. I just need 10 pounds." He's just like, "Oh, you're grilling for a party tomorrow?" I was like, "No, it's just albondigas for my family." He's just like, "Albondigas?" Like, yeah, like my nephew and my niece eat like 10 per sitting. Usually no veggies, just the meatballs. And he was just like, 10? Like, yeah, just 10. And he was just, "I can only eat 2. I was like, well, I didn't get this shape from eating 2 meatballs, I'll tell you that. And it definitely wasn't from taking Diet Coke. Oh, okay. So just season lightly. So remember, we have all the other flavors in our soup. I just remembered I didn't put pepper in that broth. I've got 2 kinds right now. Only 2, I know. I've got restaurant grind and fine grind. When I use the restaurant grind, it gets spicier, adds a little kick to it. Since no one here eats chili or anything spicy, I know, I'm going to use the fine one, so it just gives it a little bit of flavor, but not too much of a kick. For their taste, I did about 2 teaspoons, but again, pepper to taste. I do not put pepper in here. I feel that when I put the pepper, when you bite into the meatball, it sometimes takes away from the flavor of the mint. So that's why I go easy on other spices. In the broth, you can add cumin, you can add oregano, a bunch of other stuff, give it a different flavor. You can cook the carrots, you can put celery, which I don't use in albondigas, because it changes the flavor profile, and I feel that it takes away from the flavor of the meatball. It's all up to you how you like it. So let's start. Also, if you want to add onions in here, you can. I don't. Okay, our tomatillos, our mint, our egg. Other people add breadcrumbs, flour, just to help it retain the shape so they don't break when you are. Sorry, I just bought this so it's not open. And I have a little bit of egg on here now. Have to put some additional on. Alright, to make this easier. Oh, as I was saying, squirrel! I don't measure this, so I'll just go ahead and do about 3 cups by the looks of it. And I use long grain rice. So in order to avoid it from having the meatball just turn into ground beef in the pan when it's boiling. Do not over mix it because that can also cause it to fall apart. Just like me. Okay. It might need a little bit more. I did 3 cups. But again, as I was saying with the mixing, just do it and use your hands like for this. It's pretty much just how it feels. You kind of know when it's done. It is messy, but it's fun. Just make sure you've washed your hands. I'm kind of trying not to, because it's already mushy. I know that this is going to affect the outcome of the meatball, so I'm trying not to get this over mixed, but it's virtually impossible just because of the way of the ground beef. It was the way it was ground. Looks pretty much mixed. Just seeing the texture of it, I think it could use another 1.5 cups of rice. I don't want to go in and mix it again, so I'm gonna leave it as is for now. It looks sticky and like it's not ready to be formed. It is. So I won't even show you the sink right now because and we are good. Let me set this aside for a second. Oh, and the reason I have this for my board and even for the mixing bowl, it helps stabilize it so it's not moving around when you're trying to cook with it. Let it stand for 5 minutes and it'll be easier to shape the meatball. And the beauty about this, if you want to use this side, I mean, it's an ingredient that's in there anyway, and it's meat. So who cares? You can use this side or just flip it and you have another clean surface. I don't mind the mince being there. Okay, we're good. So the shape of the meatball, if you want to make smaller ones, I feel like they have more flavor when I bite into them. But generally, I would say about this much. What is it? I mean, if you want to measure it, that looks like what? A little bit under 1/2 cup. Maybe 1/3 cup. Yeah. So when you're rolling it, you want to press on it as you roll. Okay. And it doesn't have to be a perfect shape. Okay. So just start. I'll just do this to start getting the shape, and then, okay, so if you don't press on it, you start having them break, it's difficult to form, and that's when you keep on doing it, and you don't want to do that. Just want to get it formed as quickly as possible. Got it. Those look like they might be a little too big. Oh well. 74, 76, 78, 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 90, 92, 94, 96 meatballs. Huh. And I make them big and small and medium. Woohoo! Alright, just gonna wash my hands, put the heat up, which I should have done a little while ago so I can get back to a boil. You know, let's make the broth angry. So don't lift this way because you're gonna burn yourself. This way so the steam goes that way. Or to the side. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see that. Well, let me try to show you this. If you chop up the tomatoes and the onions like finer, if you mince it, most of it just like melts into the broth. If you have kids, I know with my nephews in the past, some of the foods that require me to do this, even for like a sauce, I would blend it, and that way they didn't know that there was like garlic and onion, or they didn't have to, maybe it was just a texture thing for them. But that's a solution also for this. You can just blend it, throw it in and saute in the oil, and that way you don't get that. Or you can use like tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes. There are a few shortcuts that I would use, but because of the flavor, I go with this traditional way of making them. Okay. So I usually go around the sides. Ooh, touched it. You can just drop them there so it doesn't splash, or do that. I don't recommend that. Okay, so I'll just wait a bit. Oh, it's still boiling a bit, so we can go ahead and just add it. And down the middle. I need a bigger sink because washing this is not fun in a tiny sink. Okay. Just dropping it over here. Get angry. Before adding the meatballs, what you can do is taste it for salt. See if you need to add some more chicken bouillon in there. I usually just wait for after it starts boiling for 10 minutes once they're all in there. And that's when I taste it for salt. I might add pink sea salt depending on the salt that I want in there, like the flavor to it, or I might just do the Knorr. Alright, it's coming back up to a boil. so big. This was not even rolling. Okay. So the other ones that I have, the parchment paper, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. You know what? Let's get the camera over there. So if there's like a tragedy, we can laugh at it. And I guess I can roll it onto this. That would just be too easy. Woo! I knew that was gonna happen. So I knew that rolling them into the other one would have been easy and avoiding this, but what the heck? Thought it would be fun to try it. I know. I wasted 2 meatballs. Alright. So now we're just waiting for that. Cool. So what did we learn today, kids? If you know it's gonna happen, don't do it. But what's the fun in that? Cool. Okay, so we're beginning to get the oils from the meat coming out. I take care of that at the end. Just remove the top as much as possible. I know there are people that don't remove it. They like all that oil in there. I don't like it. I get rid of it as much of it. As much of it as I can. Okay, so we've got that. I'll cover it up. Once it starts boiling again, I'll set a timer for 20 minutes and see you then. All right, so the albondigas were boiling over too much. I took some out so I can actually cover it and finish cooking them. I'll cook these later on. This is my small pot, the smallest one I've got. And I thought this was what I use. Apparently not. So hopefully next time I won't forget again. I tried a little bit of the broth. It needs more salt, or I'm just gonna go ahead and use consomme. I'm gonna keep the recipe the same as my mom made. So it looks like I need another one of these. Get it to go in there. And since it was spilling, most of the oil is gone. I mean, you can still see that there's a bit in there. So we'll take care of that in a minute. It's got about 5 minutes, but because I opened it to check the seasoning and it's not boiling, I'm gonna add like 3 more minutes to it. Okay, so my veggies, the zucchini is undercooked. I happen to like it that way, but as I said, you can cook it longer. The reason I do this is when I reheat this, when I eat it again, it's gonna end up cooking, and I don't want it to get too mushy. So a piece of chayote, piece of zucchini, and grab a few carrots. Now for the good stuff. Not a traditional breakfast, but hey. So, what I will commonly do I'm missing some. Oh well. I'll usually take out the meatballs. Be careful, this is super hot. I do not recommend you do it. Because people will start digging in, they'll tend to break up the meat. So I usually just take it out. That is just not going to be big enough, so I'll have to find something else. So while I was waiting for this to cook, I was cleaning up, and now we're gonna dirty up again. So just go underneath the oil, so you get nothing but the oil. Okay. Once I start seeing that broth is going in there, just take that out. Alright, so I've got the other meatballs that didn't finish cooking. Ooh, almost fell on that other meatball. Just gonna drop them in there because this is super hot. Cover it and let them cook. Now to try this. Alright. Salt-wise, it's good for me. I know my sister's gonna want more salt in there. That's a lot of oil. Okay, so like the spoon is full of oil. That's why I get rid of it. So here we go. It's an explosion of mint with the meat. Santa Virgen de la Macarena. I'm gonna let this cool down so I can enjoy it even more. And the chayote has a seed in it. Usually I'll cook it whole because I like the seed. Oh, it's so good. If you like, if this is too thick and sometimes it's too rough, I'll peel it and cook it. But if it's thin, it's fine. You can eat it. It's all preference as well. I know people do not like it. I do the happy dance a lot. If it's good, you'll see me doing this. Well, time to start thinking what I'm cooking next time. because I think about food all the time. Bye.